Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Total War number 1 and number 2, published by Gold Key Comics in 1965. This is the main reason to own these comics is because they have Wally Wood art in them. Pretty, I don't know, boring writing, not that spectacular. Kind of a neat concept, especially if you were like a 12-year-old boy. This would totally be up your alley. Total War, after this second issue here, changed its name to Mars Patrol Total War. And Wally Wood does do the first issue of that. So number 3, that would be. And I got to track that down. I thought I had all the Wally Wood Total War stuff, but I guess technically it's the same comic. They just changed the title. After that, it's just all these other artists, so I don't care. But this is some nice Wally Wood art, and let's crack them open. So the front covers of both of these painted colors, they kind of remind me of like a toy box, some game from Mattel or something, or a toy. Those nice painted covers of the 60s. This guy's George Wilson, and he paints them. And this is something interesting that Gold Key did, at least back then. So you see this cover. On the back cover, they'd reproduce it with no logo as a pinup. So that's kind of nice. I don't know, kind of wooden art, but pretty, must have stood out on the newsstands. You know, this just really well-painted stuff. So we start with Keys of Knowledge. Gold Key Comics had these in all their comics. All these little relevant information pages. This is Weapons in Warfare, and these were all drawn by Joe Certa. And I think he did a lot of stuff for Dell. And they're just, you know, this is just showing all these cool guns and bazookas and stuff. So here we go. Look at this. Target America. And we see Atlantic City. All of a sudden it's being invaded, and by these troops with massive armament. Look at this beautiful Wally Wood art. Even the coloring is great. This is just really nice. Usually in comics, when they like back then when they showed night, it didn't really look like night. This is an amazing approximation of, you know, the deep shades of you know, when it's dark out. So some cop sees it, and they mow him down before he can call out a warning. So here we meet the Mars Patrol. And what does it stand for? I can't remember. Oh, Marine Attack Rescue Service. And they're like the elite of the elite soldiers. We got Sergeant Joe Stryker, Corporal Russ Stacy, Sergeant Ken Hero, and Lieutenant Cy Adams. So as you can see, just like Wally Wood was made to draw this comic. So we just see these invading forces. Nobody knows who they are, where they come from. And they're just making mincemeat of every defense they come up against. They outgun the United States Army, it seems. That was an interesting thing Dell had. A lot of their panels didn't have panel borders. The color would demarcate the end of the panel. But I noticed that Wally Wood, there's a bunch of them in here. So I wonder if Wally Wood was like, I don't like that. But some of them do. They lack panel borders. So all these reports are coming in from across America. They're attacking a bunch of places at once. And just marauding over most of America. So the Mars Patrol is kind of doing recon. They're pretty much just, these 4 of them are in this total hostile territory. The invaders have already, secured a huge chunk of America. So various, they're fighting them, doing little hit and run missions. Also trying to figure out how much armament they have. So they show up at the Mars base, and Cy Adams gives the general all his information he has, and we find out that Moscow's being attacked too. So it's not the Russians. At first they were like, maybe it's the Russians or the Chinese. No, they're getting attacked. So is Calcutta and Hong Kong. So this mysterious army is just attacking the biggest world powers. So American forces are totally on the retreat, but the general is planning a counteroffensive. I just wonder how beautiful this would look if it was just 8 years earlier. Wally Wood in the mid to late 50s. This would have been some lush stuff. I noticed that even at this is like Wally Wood at his most perfunctory. Wally Wood had that famous quote about, if you can't trace something, clip it out, or I can't remember the exact words, but basically take as many shortcuts as you need to in comics because it's a brutal game. You don't get paid much. You got to crank out pages, swipe, trace, do whatever the fuck you got to do. And this one looks like he was, I don't know, maybe didn't have a lot of time. The art for Wood is definitely not as detailed. But I just love reading his pages, his layouts, his storytelling. It's so fun and readable. It's just, even when it's this simple. Let's move on here. So Ken here was the resident frogman. And they all specialize in one thing. Cy Adams is the pilot. And whatever, I can't remember what the other guys do, but they're all specialists. Here we see the invaders just totally parachuting down into New York City. That's what's kind of an appeal of this comic, I think. I mean, like I said earlier, if you were a 12-year-old boy, because, war comics are exciting when you're a kid. But then, this one where they're actually, because America's never been conquered, really. So this is just, crazy sci-fi, what-if type story. So you're seeing all these familiar structures, Radio City Music Hall, being invaded by this really strong military force, seemingly unstoppable. So the Mars Patrol are trying to take back Manhattan. Sorry, these pages are sticking together. I totally forgot to mention this. These are all written by a guy named Leo Dorfman. And I think he just did a lot of stuff for Dell and Gold Key, I should say. I've never seen him before or after this. So they drive back the invaders in New York City. It's their first victory since being invaded. And it's weird, the invaders never surrender. They still don't know who, even though they see all these corpses, none of them have any ID papers on them. None of them, say anything before they die. So it's still a complete mystery who these guys are, who they're working for. They do have this weird insignia on all their tanks and airplanes, which kind of looks like a crab, I think. So who knows what they are. And at the end of the issue, the general gets a report that the invaders have attacked again. You gotta go on another mission. Here we have another page by Joe Cerda, Weapons and warfare, modern infantry weapons. Okay, Total War number 2. Another nice painted cover by George Wilson. And I'll show it to you without the logos and such. I'm pretty sure this guy is that guy who did lots of like toy boxes, model boxes. Seems like the wood puts a lot of work in the first pages, and then it tapers off as the issue goes on. Another Joe Certa, Total War, New Tools for Combat. It's kind of interesting. It looks like the fax machine. A newly developed device can send and receive battlefield maps and sketches by means of the radio or the telephone. So this issue's called Sneak Attack. Beautiful Wallywood splash page. We see them throughout the world, conquering. It looks like they've pretty much sewn up Calcutta, Hong Kong, and Moscow. So America's the last holdout, and most of America is conquered. So, of course, the Mars Patrol has got to go out again. And apparently there's some activity up in the Niagara Falls area. They suspect that that's where they're going to strike next, the invaders. So they fly up there and they attack Niagara. And everyone's freaking out, all the civilians. The invaders are just parachuting jeeps down, tanks. And this comic does not skimp on the action. That's pretty much all it is. There's like maybe a few panels where they say, "Hey, General, what's going on?" And then he sends them back out. And there's like 4 pages of crazy military action. So they're trying to keep the invaders from taking over, the whole electrical facility near Niagara. Basically, the whole eastern seaboard is powered by Niagara Falls. At least they say so in this comic. I don't know if that's true. Really nice colors back then. Back in the mid-60s, when they had the nice printing presses, the metal plates. This looks so much nicer than the comics I grew up with in the mid to late 70s. Mostly late 70s. They got really shitty looking. They couldn't hold colors this solidly. So there's all this action around Niagara Falls. They blew up the invaders' pontoon bridge. So they could cross the river. They all go falling down the falls. This is Leo Dorfman he kind of repeats himself a lot in these comics. So he always has a scene where the invaders are meeting a horrible fate. And one of the Mars Patrol will say, "Oh, the poor devils." And then another guy will say, "Save your sympathy." This is payback for what they did to blah, blah, blah. So he keeps doing that. I really doubt if these guys were invading us, the Mars Patrol would be going, "Oh man, I feel sorry for them." God, I'm remiss once again. So not only is this written by Leo Dorfman, just like the first issue, but this issue is Dan Adkins pencils, Wallywood inks. But you know how Wallywood is when he inks. So that's why it pretty much looks like wood. But you can see some panels and just the layouts aren't as woodish. Like this is, that if this was Wallywood pencils and inks, that would be different or not there. There's only so much wood can do in the inking stage. So Ken Heroes puts on a skin suit, does another Frogman mission. He's got to plant some charges and blow up the enemy's base. see the Wally Wood inks there. That's very Wally Wood. Oh yeah, there's the logo. You can see it a little more closely. It is a crab. So, I mean, I'm probably never going to buy the issues after number 3. Mars Patrol 3. Because all I really care about these comics is Wally Wood. These invaders are ruthless. Anytime they come upon any civilian, anyone, they just kill them all. Yeah, you can see it once again as this issue progresses. The art's getting simpler and simpler. Maybe a gold key. They just looked at the first few pages when you'd submit them shit. And they'd be like, yeah, it looks good. Don't got time to look at every single one. You probably noticed there's no ads in these. It's pretty nice to have an adless comic. Even the back cover isn't an ad. They have the nice painting, you know. So the invaders are running low on like simple things like food and stuff. So they go into this town, this small town, and they're just killing everyone, taking over the supermarkets, commandeering all the food. And the Mars Patrol shows up, and they actually rally the townspeople. And they go to a sporting goods store, and everyone picks up a gun. So they're gonna fight back, protect their city. And they beat them. They stop the attack. So they find the HQ, this other HQ of the invaders. I mean, they have a lot of HQs. They've really infiltrated America. They're in this cave. And these guys are ready to kill themselves because they're trapped. The caves don't go any further. That's how serious these guys are. Just stone cold. They will not surrender. But then there's unfortunately, there's a cave in, and the Mars Patrol guys escape with by the hair in their chinny chin chin. Once again, some guy says, poor devils will be sealed up there forever. Shed no tears, Lieutenant. We'll be meeting more of these creeps one of these days. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't need number 3 of Mars Patrol Total War. Here we have another Joe Cerda page, Total War Combat Transport of the Future. Some of these are pretty nutty. I don't think any of these have ever been developed. Get that back cover again. So there you have it, Total War number 1 and 2. Not the best Wally Wood, but hey, it's Wally Wood, and it's worth getting. I think I got a really good deal on these, so these probably are going for a pretty penny. So I guess don't go crazy if you can't find them cheap. There's a lot of great Wally Wood out there. And this is some pretty nice stuff. You know, like, once again, look at the difference of this page. This is like classic EC comic Wally Wood from, mid-50s. And then every page it gets just kind of like, eh. So, like I said, if you can find them cheap, I'd buy them. It was kind of fun reading this crazy story of these. I'm kind of curious to see who the hell these guys are, these invaders, and how they're going to take over the whole world. So, and where the hell they came from. They seem to have more munitions and equipment than all of the Earth's armies combined. They're just, outgunning every country. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.